Hey everybody, this is Rebecca, and today I'm going to be sharing with you a dream that I had on January 20th, 2022. In this dream, I was in an apartment, not an apartment that I recognize, but I was looking out of the screen door of the apartment up at the night sky. I remember thinking how beautiful the stars were. Everything was so dark. I was able to really see the stars. That may have been a testament to a lack of power in the area. I also saw, as I was looking at the sky, I saw a UFO. I saw a UFO go across the sky, moving forward into the distance, and then a little while later I saw a dark colored military plane flying overhead, and it actually passed by quite a few times. And I remember feeling in the dream very concerned about stepping outside. I did not want to be revealed to this plane or to those in it, and there was just a feeling of needing to be hidden in this dream. Well, eventually the plane came back again, and this time it dropped a package. The package had a parachute on it, and it was slowly floating down. It actually landed on the sloped roof of the apartment building that I was in. After the plane was gone and I felt that it was safe to go out, that it wasn't coming back, I remember very cautiously going outside, stepping out a little ways from the door so that I could turn around and look up at the roof. And when I looked up at the roof, I saw that there were actually two teenagers who were up on the roof, eagerly trying to open the bags and the packages and things. And the bag reminded me, it actually was like a government bag. It actually said the U.S. government on the bag, one of the bags. And I began to talk to the teenagers very carefully and cautiously because I didn't recognize them. And I told them that they can keep whatever is in there. I just wanted to know what it was that was dropped. But the next thing that I remember in this dream was that we met some people that were staying in the apartment near us. And I guess they would be like our neighbors. And I remember that there was a husband and a wife, and they had two children. They had a boy and a girl. And I remember that the girl was sitting kind of like Indian style on the floor of our apartment. Her brother was sitting near her. The mom, she sat in a chair, and the dad was standing up. And I was also sitting in a chair next to the mom. And my husband was standing up as well. And we were very cautious, and we were beginning to talk to them and just kind of get a feel for what kind of people they were. Because that was the whole vibe of this dream was don't give out information. Don't tell people who you are, what you believe. Because if you do, it could very well hold serious consequences. You could get turned in for being a Christian. You could get robbed very well. You don't want people to know what kind of things you have. You just don't trust people. You have caution and wisdom. So as we're discussing things very carefully, I remember that the daughter, I think she was also a teenager, she said something, and it was sort of coded to kind of get a feel for what we would do. And I remember that she mentioned something along the lines of, we just got to keep planting seeds. Well, immediately that piqued my interest as a believer in Jesus Christ. And I looked at Chris, who was my husband, and he looked back at me, and we smiled at each other. And then we looked at the girl and said, "Well, that was an interesting thing to say." She smiled back at me and said, "Yeah." And pretty much we had discovered at this point that this family was also a Christian family, and we all began to kind of take this big sigh of relief, and we all began to sort of rejoice in the fact that we were with another Christian family. And with some time after we had been talking for a while, we actually felt so comfortable with each other that we decided to all travel together because there was safety in numbers. We decided to travel together to the place where we could get some items that we needed. And I kind of felt that in this dream, going to grocery stores, going to get supplies, it was not how it used to be. Nothing was as it used to be. The place that we now lived, the world we now lived in, was very violent. There was a lot of crime, a lot of darkness, a lot of supernatural things going on, and there were different pockets of types of environments and people. And you had to be very careful what you did. And so we all went together in this big van and piled in, and we were on our way to Walmart, which apparently was open. And as we went, I remember that I let the mother of that family, I let her borrow my phone. Now, when I let her borrow my phone, I remember that the phone was not a smartphone. It was an old flip phone. Well, they're not really that old, but you know what I mean. The flip phones. And I remember that she was just so happy, and she smiled and she thanked me, and it was such a luxury for her to be able to make a phone call. I believe that the van we used was their family's van, their vehicle, and I let her use the phone, and we were going together, so we were kind of helping each other out. Also, when she made the phone call, I got the impression in the dream that she was very happy to be able to try to get in touch with somebody in her family that she had not heard from in a very long time. This was not a just calling to chat kind of phone call. This was more of a checking in to see if people are still alive kind of phone call. Okay, so once we got to Walmart, the larger entrance was blocked off by a whole bunch of shopping carts. So we had to go through a slimmer single door that was to the left. This forced us to pass an area with a long countertop. It was seamless and white with machines mounted on it and other technology that was set up behind the counter. And I want to elaborate on this. I'm actually reading my notes from this dream. I have seen this futuristic, white, glossy, seamless look before in other dreams, which I hope to be able to share with you. It's very interesting because it's so sleek and very ultra modern or almost futuristic looking. And on top of it was these robotic AI technology pieces of machinery, and also it was set up so that people would basically, it was set up for the mark of the beast, and you would not be able to enter into the building in the near future without having the mark of the beast. The whole store was going to be set up for them. Apparently, Walmart had done a extreme remodeling. But at least as of now, I knew from this dream that the first step in setting up all the technology and everything was for Vax passes. Okay, so you would need to have the pass to get into the store. All right, so I knew this wasn't active yet and we were allowed to enter. Now when we entered, it was very clear that everything was different inside. Nothing looks, you can't even think of the way that Walmart looks now, because it's not the same in this dream. It's a whole different kind of place. And in this dream, they didn't have a lot of stuff available yet. They were mainly saving it for once the passes were required. And pretty much they were giving a sneak peek to people and still selling a few items that people might need. At this time, the prices were extremely high. People couldn't afford to buy very much. And so what I believe I was seeing was the official remodeling of Walmart, but they were not completely stocked yet. So I was seeing the transition. So when we walked into the store, when we passed the countertops, when we went in, it opened up into a very large, I guess what you would almost call like a foyer. You know how when you have the big entry room of a house? Well, picture something like that for Walmart. I know that currently Walmart has, when you walk in, some Walmarts have a large room where they keep all the grocery carts, and they sometimes have soda machines, or sometimes they have like claw machines and things like that. Well, in this dream, it was a much bigger room than those rooms. It was probably about triple the size of those kinds of rooms they have now. There was no grocery carts in there. Everything was very white, very sleek, very white, very seamless, as I said. The main color schemes were white with occasional blue, with occasional orange. But pretty much a little bit of black. So, but the main coloring everywhere you looked was white. Very futuristic looking. And there were these massive screens, and you walked through, once you passed through the first area, and there were screens on the walls and things there, where the walls themselves were screens. So there wasn't like a flat screen TV or a huge flat screen TV even mounted on these walls. The walls themselves were screens. So if you touched the wall, you were touching the screen. And so you were just bombarded with this area that you had to maneuver through, where you were hearing advertisements. You were seeing celebrities on the big screens. You were hearing sounds and music, and there was a lot going on to capture all of your senses pretty much when you walked in. And one of the screens in particular, that was an entire wall, a massive wall. It actually was so crystal clear that I thought that it was, I didn't realize it was a screen at first. I thought that what was playing on the screen, I thought it was actually an entrance to a room, because what was playing on the screen, let me set my phone down here for a second. What was playing on the screen was like, it looked like you were going to walk into a room. And so it was still for a second, so I was able to really soak everything in. I think the Holy Spirit really wanted me to grasp this particular image here. So picture an archway into a large room. I apologize for the noise. we are staying at a hotel right now, and there's people all in the hallways and people cleaning. So I just apologize for the background noise. If it gets really loud, I may have to redo this video later. But pretty much this giant wall screen was showing like a big archway that looked realistic, like you could walk through it into a new room. This room looked, from what I could see through the archway, it looked like it was a globe-shaped room, a circular, spherical room. And in this room, there wasn't a lot in it. The walls and everything were that slick, glossy white. And in the center of the room was a small black platform. So there was a lot of empty space all around this platform in the form of the circle, the spherical room. Well, standing on, I should also say floating, hovering above the black platform in the middle of this room, huge room, was what do I call this? I don't really know. It was just like a hovering white ball. So it had this kind of, again, futuristic type vibe, look, decor in there. And standing on top of that platform also was a music artist. I don't know who it was. It wasn't somebody I recognized. And then all around the room was this crowd of people. These people were packed in there like sardines. And I remember that this is the point when I realized, I'm not actually looking at a room that's there in Walmart. I'm looking at a video that is playing, because at this point, the camera began to pan forward over the people. So the camera passed through the archway, and it kind of rose up so that it was above the people, and all of the people had their hands up in the air. I could see their fingers. The camera was passing past their hands, and they were all facing this music artist, and there was music that was blasting and playing, and the man on the stage, he had a microphone. I think he had a microphone, but the point is that he was performing, he was singing, he was shouting, and the camera was panning over all these people's hands very slowly, showing how they all had their hands sort of up and tilted towards this man, almost in a form of worship. And I remember that it was at this time in the dream that my attention went to the lyrics of the music as the people were worshiping this music and this whole lifestyle. And I don't have the exact words, but what I wrote down in my notes was that what was being sung about was about God, lowercase g, a false God, and worshiping ourselves as God. And like I said, everyone had their arms up in the air, their hands were reaching up somewhat towards this man, and the camera was panning through the crowd. And then the video clip began to replay itself. And I want to mention here that it seemed to me that this was something that Walmart was pushing and promoting, because there was so much darkness out in the world. And when I say darkness, I'm actually not referring to the sin. I'm talking about, it is sin, but it was like a different world outside of this place. And it would almost be like going to this place, going to Walmart in this time was like going to some oasis, so to speak, going to somewhere where you had luxury and anything that you could want. And life was sort of back to normal, but on steroids, And if you did not move forward with the passes and eventually the mark itself, you could have no access. The world was moving forward into this grand illusion, but you could not move forward with the world if you did not meet the guidelines required. Okay, so as we continued to walk around, I saw massive dedicated areas for various things. Like, I even saw a spot that was roped off where Walmart had been creating a museum, a Walmart museum. It was an interactive hub kind of place that was showing off different achievements and things that Walmart was doing in this new world, and how they were really a major part of the system. And one of the areas was in space contributions that they were involved in. And I remember seeing some things in the museum that were attributing to that, and a man in a spacesuit, statue kind of thing, and just all kinds of stuff in there. And there was also restaurants, many kinds of restaurants. And I'm not talking about like McDonald's or Subway. Now, they may have had those also. But what I saw were very nice, fancy restaurants, nice dining areas, beautiful booths with lights above them, massive seating areas, very nicely decorated, very intimate feeling, and this futuristic look was everywhere that you saw. Now, my husband and I were walking around. We were thinking about picking up a few things, but we ended up, I don't know that we actually picked up anything because of the prices, and we couldn't afford the prices of the things. But the family that we were with, they had picked up a few things. And so we were in line. We ended up getting into a line. There was one line available. There was not multiple lines like at the registers with the belts and everything that you put your stuff on. There wasn't anything like that. None of that was in the store anymore. What they had was a temporary station where it was near the exit. There was a nice countertop, but this countertop looked temporary. It did not have the same glossy, white, seamless, sleek, futuristic lights on it and everything. This was different. This one looked like it was going to be removed, maybe as soon as things were put into place. So this was temporary in a way for people to still check out items before leaving. And there was, like I said, one line. So we were in line, and the family was in front of us, and we were just kind of going with them. And the man who was checking out people and everything, he was actually very, very, very friendly. And he was wearing a nice suit. So this kind of shows you the direction that they were going. The man was wearing a very nice suit. And in front of the family, there was somebody who was finishing checking out. And so there was us, the family, and then in front of the family was a man he had a couple of items and he was getting ready to leave. And as he finished checking out, the cashier said to him, as he gave him the receipt, "And you have exactly 7 days remaining before you are required," before you are required to have the pass. So that was confirmation in this dream of what I had seen at the beginning when we entered Walmart. So after the 7 days, then the pass was going to be required. They were going to have the other system up and running, and the whole thing would be different experience. So then the family in front of us goes to check out their items. And this is a Christian family. And the dad, he came forward and he had a big laminated V exemption paper. Please hear me. V exemption paper. And he was very confident and proud that he had planned ahead of time and that he had this plan in place for when the passes come. And he held it out to the cashier after checking out all the items. And the cashier, when he looked up and he immediately recognized it. He'd seen it before. And in a sort of joking way, but making a point, trying not to be rude, but definitely making his point to the man, the dad, he all of a sudden stopped what he was doing and he covered his eyes with his hands and he shook his head and he kept saying, "Nope, I'm not going to look at it. Nope, 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 nope." And basically, the cashier ended up telling the dad that those V exemption papers are not going to be accepted. And so this was very upsetting and shocking to the dad of this family. And so they went ahead and got the items they needed, but this was a very eye-opening situation for them because they thought that the plans that they had put in place were going to keep them, stable for the times that were required of them in the future, but this is not so. And so I remember at the end of this dream that we all ended up leaving, and that was the experience that we had before we went, the experience that we had meeting people that were strangers, how at this time the government was dropping some random supplies, but you had to be very careful trying to get those supplies because of the wickedness of man. And the reality is that people would be willing to kill other people. I apologize. I had to stop it again because it got really loud. It's still kind of loud out there in the hallway, but I don't remember what I was saying when I had to pause this video. But the point was that things were very dangerous at this time. And so this is a very interesting time. I saw the UFO, I saw the military planes, I saw people who I was very careful around. There was not fear, but there was hesitance to go outside, always being alert of your surroundings. And then, of course, the V passes being installed in Walmart, the big futuristic changes of Walmart. I will even say that when I was walking through Walmart, I actually saw a particular celebrity on one of the screens. That celebrity was Sandra Bullock, and she was definitely very much involved with the system. So, excuse my phone. I wanted to make that clear, and that many of the celebrities also are very involved in Satan's plans. So keep that in your mind. I just ask you to take this dream to the Lord. Again, I want to remind you that the V passes were just a first step, even though I know that they are very, 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 very much part of the beast system, and that they are not good, and we should have no parts of any of that stuff as believers, but this was a step before the last piece of the mark. And so just hear me when I say that. And I have also questioned myself whether or not the V is the mark, but it seems to be that it's all part of it. It's part of it, and it's very dangerous, and I would have no parts of it. I would not put it in my body, but I know many who have, and I honestly don't know exactly what that means for them. But I do believe that there is a small window right now of repentance. And so if you have received any of the V's, then I highly would suggest to you, you need to repent of that. You need to pray for forgiveness of that. And you need to be rooted in Jesus Christ enough now that when more pressures come, that you will not give in to those pressures of the beast system, of the metaverse, or of anything in the medical system that is promoted, no matter how alluring it may sound, no matter how much they may hold it over your head to feed yourself and your family, or anything else. And so because it's very noisy and everything, and this is a long video, I'm going to go ahead and end this here. And I thank you for watching. God bless you all. Goodbye.